President Trump is trying to rally senior citizens with a new campaign ad in the Battleground of Florida. The state has one of the highest percentages of residents aged 65 and older. Meanwhile, over the weekend, a parade of Joe Biden's supporters made their way through the Villages in Central Florida. That's the nation's largest retirement community. Experts say this age group is one of the most reliable voting blocs. A recent poll from CNN finds Biden clinching the demographic 60 to 39%. Here's what one voter told CBS News about her top concerns this election.
Want to make sure that our vote is counted. So in a week, we're going to call the elections and make sure that they have our vote. This is a very important election. It's probably the most important election in our lifetime. I'm very concerned for my children and grandchildren's future. That's why I'm here.
For more on Florida, let's bring in CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns. She joins us now from Broward County. Hi there, Caitlin. So what else are you hearing from senior citizens in Florida? Has there been a shift in support for either candidate?
Well, this is a critical voting bloc and a constituency that both campaigns are trying to make a play. President Trump will be in Florida tonight. Joe Biden is visiting the state tomorrow. Shows you how critical this is. And senior citizen voters are really key here. And we've seen in polling that while this has been a reliable group for Donald Trump, he has been lagging behind his numbers from 2016. We have a CBS poll out earlier last month that showed that while this race is tight in Florida, while Trump is leading Biden among seniors, his lead has been cut to just 9 points. Compare that to 17 points that he won them by in 2016. So the way that you can tell that this is a group that seems to be slipping for the president is that he is out with new campaign ads today, a multi-million-dollar campaign effort targeting seniors and especially trying to defend his record on coronavirus. We spoke to seniors at a polling location here in Broward County, and you heard from the woman that we played there. Others told us that the coronavirus pandemic is really shaping their view of this election.
Yeah, and you went to a Latinos Caravan for Biden event yesterday and spoke with Democratic State Senator Jose Javier Rodriguez. Let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say about the race.
And so we're seeing Hispanics move toward Biden and Harris because they're seeing through the smokescreen of these accusations of socialism, which are not true, these accusations about defund the police, which are not true, and they're seeing that Trump that Trump is out for himself, and that Biden and Harris have a plan for public health, health care, and the economy, not to mention climate and all the other challenges that we have.
Are the senator's comments in line with other Hispanic voters in Florida that you spoke with?
Well, what we've been hearing here is that Hispanic voters are not a monolithic group. Cuban heritage, very different from Puerto Rican heritage, very different from Venezuela. When we hear the president campaigning in Florida, he often tries to target this group with a message of trying to paint Democrats with a broad brush of socialism. That can work in some constituencies, and as the state senator was telling us, he doesn't think that it works with everybody. The big issue that we've been hearing here in South Florida is the issue of health care, and this is where the campaigns are really trying to target. Yesterday, we also talked to Donna Shalala, the Democratic congresswoman who represents a district in South Florida that she flipped from Republican to Democrat. She has the most Obamacare enrollees in her district, and she said this is something that is really shaping the views of voters here along with the pandemic. So healthcare, a driver, especially among this group of voters. But we should also note that we've seen in polling that Joe Biden is lagging behind Hillary Clinton's numbers among Hispanic voters. So suggesting that while he leads Trump by a comfortable margin among Hispanic voters, that he is not yet at the Hillary Clinton levels. And why that's important is because we know that races here in Florida are razor thin. The governor's race and the Senate race in 2018 were determined by less than half a percentage point. And the presidential race, of course, in 2016, Trump won by a little over a percentage point. So as we're talking about seniors, as we're talking about Hispanic voters, these margins are really critical and could make all the difference.
Well, Caitlin, you also visited a ballot processing center in Broward County, the same southern Florida county which made national headlines in the 2018 midterms over recount errors. What are they doing to avoid the same mistakes this time around?
That's right. All eyes were on Florida again in 2018 during that midterm where, especially in Broward County, they had some real significant issues that an audit showed. First, they had a backlog of processing absentee ballots. They had some issues with what the ballot looked like and how accessible it was for voters. They have, during the pandemic, have expanded the days by which the county can start and Florida statewide can start processing ballots. And we've been talking a lot about that as we're talking about access to voting here. Expanding the number of days to begin to process ballots is really important because that means that you don't have to wait to Election Day to start opening up the ballots. So at the processing center where we were, we saw election workers begin to open up those absentee ballots that are coming in. In Florida, you don't need an excuse to vote absentee. And lots of voters that we talked to at that location today said that they were excited about this as an option. They could just drop it off in a secure drop box that went directly to that processing center. So while 2018 showed a lot of issues here in Broward County, the election official that we spoke to today said that they have been working through them, have been hiring more staff and resources to be able to process those ballots. And they hope that they can have election results on Election Day. And that's different from states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, where you're not allowed to start opening up the ballots until Election Day.
In our final minute, Caitlin, in-person voting does begin in Florida next week. This comes after confusion and chaos last week over whether to extend the registration deadline after the website crashed. Are voters that you've spoken with planning to vote early, and how are local election officials preparing for that?
Well, they're preparing for more people wanting to send in their ballots early absentee, and they're hoping, the supervisor in Broward County told us that he's hoping that that means there will be fewer people showing up in person and therefore could be safer. We talked to several voters at the location where we were today, and all of them were voting absentee for the first time. They said it was convenient. They said it allows them to avoid the crowds on Election Day, and especially during a pandemic, they felt like that was a safe option.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns in Broward County, Florida for us. Caitlin, thank you so much.